It's Overreaction Monday. And we got lots to overreact to. Phillies, Sixers, hell, the Eagles. We can put it all on the table today. But obviously, everybody's going to want to overreact to the Phillies because it's June and everything is right back where we expect it to be after one weekend in June here with the Phillies. Hey, trending in the AM, Overreaction Monday. Every topic is on the table. We start in 30 seconds.
Fourth and goal.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM, right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. You know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, retweet, turn notifications on. Shout it from the rooftops, Trending in the AM. The number one morning sports talk show every single day, daily here in the Philadelphia Sports Network. In sports world, first and best place to get your sports take every morning. Good morning, Adam. How you doing this morning? We're talking everything today. It's Overreaction Monday. So all topics are on the table, whatever you want to overreact to. Phillies turning a corner. I've got a list, my top 3 list of takeaways that aren't overreactions to the Phillies this weekend. You know, we can continue the Sixers. Nick Nurse, I've got more names that the Sixers should target on my list. I've got them on there. Basically, anything from this weekend you guys want to overreact to, whatever, we will talk about it. How was the weekend? My weekend wasn't too bad, Cam. I hope yours was well too. Weather wasn't too bad. It wasn't overly hot Saturday or Sunday. Had the day off yesterday, chilled, watched some sports on TV. NBA Finals, great game last night. Miami Heat beating the Denver Nuggets in Denver, getting one of those 2 road games. Everything. I mean, I'm going to start talking Phillies. But whenever the comments come rolling in, there we go. We don't want to start with Phillies. We want to talk about Sam Cassell leaving the Sixers for the Boston Celtics, the bitter rival Celtics. Adam, this is a killer, but it's a great one. It's a great one to overreact to, too. Like, Sam Cassell is now the enemy. He is literally the bitter enemy. Like, this is so similar, the Sam Cassell situation, to the Deuce Staley situation with the Eagles. Running backs coach, bench coach for the Sixers, constantly in the conversation for head coaching opportunities, never getting it, can't get promoted any further in Philly. So time to take your ball, so to say, elsewhere. Sometimes you've got to take a parallel step in a job field, in a workforce, so that you can get that step forward. And if it wasn't Boston, if it wasn't the fact that Boston just knocked us out, if it wasn't that Boston is the Sixers, one of their biggest rivals, I would be okay with this, because this is really good for Sam Cassell's career. Getting out of Philly, we just brought in Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is going to be the guy for a couple of years at least. He's not going to be able to get promoted here in Philly. So why wouldn't he want to just take himself somewhere else and maybe try to, advance his career? Look, Joe Mazzulla, rumors floating around in Boston that he might not be the long-term answer coach. They're going to give him the start of next season. Maybe Sam Cassell sees Boston as a place where he could get promoted pretty quickly. But, man, when I saw that news drop, I had a feeling as soon as Nick Nurse was hired that I expected a lot of the coaching staff to turn over, the assistants. Nick Nurse is going to want his guys. Nick Nurse is going to want to bring in people that understand his philosophies. I did say Yeager, the defensive-minded coach, would be a great guy to retain just because of his defensive mindset and him understanding the players on this team already. But Sam Cassell, being the guy he was, kind of had to have a feeling that he was going to move on for sure. To me, like, he goes from the guy that I wanted so bad to take over for Doc midseason, before the season, got all different parts of the last 2 years. Now he's going to Boston, and man, I can't. I want him to. I went from wanting him to be a successful head coach in the NBA because I kind of felt like he was getting overlooked. Like, I went from that to I hope that Sam Cassell bombs, bombs miserably. And it's funny because he's going to Boston to be an assistant. There is still one head coaching vacancy open in Toronto. Toronto has not filled their vacancy. Obviously, the Suns this weekend hired Frank Vogel, who I like Frank Vogel. I know a lot of Philly fans were not on the Frank Vogel train. I'm a fan of Frank Vogel. That's going to be a good fit there in Phoenix. And Phoenix was able to keep Kevin Young, their best assistant, paying him the most money to any assistant in the NBA. Obviously, the Bucks have Adrian Griffin, Nick Nurse's assistant. Pistons hired Monty Williams. I think that's a fantastic hire. I think that's a lot of money for a head coach for a team not ready yet. And obviously, the Sixers with Nick Nurse, but Budenholzer, Doc Rivers still out there. I doubt either of them take the Toronto job. It's really interesting to see how the coaching cycle shook out so far this year. If you're hiring an NBA coach, what are you even looking for? In today's day and age, Cam, for a head coach in the NBA, first and foremost, I'm looking for a guy that can be flexible because it's a star-run league. You look at the NBA Finals first off. You got two teams playing for the championship that aren't star-laden, but big picture, most teams have multiple stars. You got to have somebody that can manage egos. You got to find somebody that understands load management, even though we don't want to talk about it. It's important in this day and age. But you want somebody. If I'm building an NBA team, I want a coach that can build a culture. Because if you look at Denver and Miami compared to some of these other teams in the NBA, I mean, it's the epitome of team first, player individual success second, the culture. And I think that's what Nick Nurse does really well. And I think that's why he's such a great hire for the Sixers, is that he's going to build a culture. Like, he is not going to find, and this is not a knock on Doc Rivers. Well, it is a knock on Doc Rivers, but this is not trying to bring up bad memories of Doc Rivers. But Doc Rivers said it was acceptable to lose sometimes. And there's a lot of coaches out there in the NBA and in sports in general that present that loser mentality that, when Doc Rivers said earlier this year, and I knew the season was over, as soon as he said this, that was a scheduled loss, basically. He basically said it was okay to lose occasionally. And that culture, you look at what Eric Spoelstra is building in Miami. I mean, no one gave Miami a chance to even get to the NBA Finals. And here they are, tied 1-1 against the juggernaut of the Denver Nuggets, who you look at the Denver Nuggets are a fantastic team as well, built around a great culture. Yeah, they have the Joker. They have the two-time MVP leading their charge. But you got Jamal Murray, who's a wannabe star. And I say that with all due respect to him. He's great. He's just been injured throughout his career. So we've never gotten full 82 games and full playoff Jamal Murray yet. This is it. This is basically it now. You got Aaron Gordon playing a new role, Michael Porter Jr. You got guys coming off the bench. Everybody knows their role so well. And you look at these two teams, it's the two teams playing for the title might not be drawing the highest ratings because they might not have the biggest stars, in America, playing. It's not LeBron James. It's not Jason Tatum. Hell, it's not Joel Embiid. It's Jimmy Butler and Nikolai Jokic. That, big difference on the drawing power there. But if you just want to look at NBA basketball and culture, and this was going to be one of the things I wanted to talk about. We'll get to the Phillies in a little bit. But you need to, as a Sixers fan, you really need to spend this NBA Finals looking at these teams and being like, where are the Sixers in comparison to Miami and Denver, and even the teams that they beat to get to the finals, the Lakers and the Celtics? What do the Sixers need to do to get to their level so they could be playing in June? Which, on a side note, can we just say how annoying the NBA Finals schedule is? It started Thursday. Then they got Friday and Saturday off. And then they get a game 2 on Sunday. Now they get Monday and Tuesday off. They get 2 more days. It's so annoying that literally 7 days, 3 games. I know you want to stretch it as far as you can. Travel. You want everybody well rested. No. Dude, I don't need 2 days off in between every game. It's just ridiculous, the NBA schedule. But what do the Sixers need to do? Are they even anywhere remotely close to being able to get to these teams' levels. And I really do think it starts with the culture. Boston, you could say Boston got to the Eastern Conference Finals. What do the Sixers have to do? Well, a better culture would have beaten Boston. A less of a, when I said after Game 1's win against Boston that Game 2 was crucial, everyone says, nah, it's okay if we lose Game 2 because we get the split. No. The culture would have said if you win Game 1, you want to win Game 2. Like, changing that culture is the number one thing that the Philadelphia 76ers need to do first to get them on the same playing field as the teams that are playing for NBA titles every single year. You look at the Heat, how many times they're playing. Should be every other day for the NBA Finals. Absolutely agree with you. Hell, I would even be okay with back-to-backs to an extent, and then day off on the road travel. But yeah, it should be every other day, Adam. There's no need for 2 days off after every game. What is up, my man? Judd, we got everything's on the table. It's Overreaction Monday. We're talking basketball right now. I planned on talking Phillies. Adam wanted to jump right into the Sam Cassell conversation. So we're starting off with basketball. Whatever's on the table today, we will overreact to. But it starts with the culture that the teams that are still playing have. And I really think that you could go out and you could trade for Dame Lillard, or you could go out and trade for Bradley Beal or whatever. You could do that for the Sixers and just build more stars around Joel Embiid. Or what I've been talking about since day one this offseason, you pause. You take a step back to take two forward, and you start with the culture of this team. You let Nick Nurse instill we are not going to accept failure from player 1 on the team, Joel Embiid, to player 15 on this team in Furkan Korkmaz or whoever else it is. Like, it is going to be 100% effort every day, and that's what's important. The Sixers need to talk with Schwarber because he doesn't start playing until June. Yeah, that's. I mean, you think about it. Kyle Schwarber got moved to the leadoff spot for the Phillies on Friday, and they went 1-2 or 2-1 this weekend. They lost Friday, won Saturday and Sunday. He went 5 for 15 this weekend. Kyle Schwarber. I mean, his average is only up to like 172. He hit 333 this weekend, and it only got his average up to 172. So he's still got a long ways to go. But they need a little Kyle Schwarber in them for that. Excuse me for a second. Now he's up. He's up to 172 after this weekend. How do I feel about Trey Turner right now? That's a tough one. Trey Turner, it's really in a tough spot right now. He's obviously struggling after this weekend, which he didn't do much. He's down to 232. Batting average of 276 on base percentage. I don't agree with so I agree with Rob Thompson trying to shake things up with the lineup. He did right. He moved Schwarber up to leadoff. I don't like Schwarber in the leadoff spot, but it seems to work for Kyle Schwarber. He seems to be comfortable, and if he's not getting base hits, if he's just walking or hitting home runs, you might as well put him in the leadoff spot. I said the 9 hole, said there was less, but Rob Thompson shaking things up, yeah, it worked for Kyle Schwarber. But then Rob Thompson goes with his shakeup and moves Trey Turner to the cleanup spot. How is a guy that can't make contact, and they did this with Kyle Schwarber already this year when he was in the 2-hole struggling. They moved him to the 5-hole and 4-hole depending on lineups every day. That didn't help him. It made it worse. So I don't understand how moving Trey Turner from the 2-hole to the 4-hole is supposed to get him out of this slump. Excuse me. So congested today. Part allergies. I think actually I'm getting a cold a little bit too. But so I don't understand why Rob Thompson felt the need to move him to the 4-hole and that would solve his problem. Trey Turner needs to go down to the 7-hole, the 8-hole at this point, and just try to swing with no pressure. Because let's be honest. I mean, let's not write Trey Turner off. Let's not write him off as being a bust or anything. You look at Nick Castellano struggling in his first year in Philly. I'm not making an excuse for Trey Turner, but maybe he's struggling a touch, and he hears it, he feels it, and he starts to press at the plate a little bit. Trey Turner, out of all the Phillies that struggle so far, I'm least concerned with Trey Turner. There was a reason why Trey Turner was the number 2 betting favorite to win MVP this year, because he's that good. So, That being said, I'm not concerned big picture about Trey Turner, but they do need Trey Turner to turn it around. If they want a June turnaround like last year, and they got up to a good start this weekend, 2-1 against the Nationals. It was a good weekend of baseball for the Phillies. I've got a top 3 list of most important things that I saw this weekend. Trey Turner in the 4-hole would not be on that because it's obviously not. And yes, Drew Ellis is not on my top 3 most important things either. What Drew Ellis did this weekend was fantastic. It was great. But the guy's 27 years old. He's a career minor leaguer. He's only got I think in like 5 or 6 years, he's only got like 50 games played in base majors. Look, it's nice. It might help us if Alec Bohm is going to be out for a lengthy period of time. It won't work long term. But if it's just going to be a week or two, Drew Ellis, you can do much worse with Drew Ellis / Josh Harrison / Sosa platoon in there. I would like to hope that Derek Hall maybe comes back soon, and then Alec Bohm comes back soon, and then you have that as your infield there. But we'll wait and see there. But this weekend with the Phillies, I would say the top 3 things that I saw this weekend that tell me I can almost get ready to overreact and say they're back. And everyone's going to say, oh, look at you, bandwagon, flip-flop in your opinion. Look, it's Overreaction Monday. I can overreact. It's okay. I'm still not sold that the season's saved this weekend. One weekend does not change what the first 50-some games did or looked like. But the Phillies last year turned it around June. Can they do it this year? I don't know. But 3 things this weekend with the Phillies really jumped out for me. And number 3 on my list in importance. So 1's most important, 2, second, third. We'll go backwards. 3rd most important thing this weekend was Kyle Schwarber's 5 for 15. Him going to the leadoff spot, obviously for some random reason, and I have no idea why, but for some random reason, he just seems to be more comfortable in that leadoff spot. I still like Bryson Stott hitting leadoff. I'm not a fan. Where was Stott yesterday? Stott was in the 5-hole yesterday. Not thrilled with that. I mean, it could be worse. I'm not thrilled with Nick Castellanos in the 2-hole. Nick Castellanos, man, back up to 316 now. I think he's 4th in the league in hitting now and batting average. That's great. But I still think Nick Castellanos has got to be your cleanup hitter at the moment. So I would still have, Stott or Turner in that 2-hole, probably Stott because Turner's struggling. But Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot, actually getting hot this weekend, hitting a bunch of home runs, but not just getting home runs, having other hits too. Very, very positive step forward for Kyle Schwarber. Number 2 most important thing this weekend was JT Realmuto. The last 2 games starting to hit the ball, starting to drive the ball. Had a big hit on Saturday. Yesterday, JT Realmuto went 2 for 5 with another home run. JT Realmuto, out of all the players that have struggled on this team or failed to live up to expectations, is one of the most important because, you really need JT Realmuto being that BCIB, best catcher in baseball, and he's not even close to it right now. You need him hitting 280. You need him driving the ball. This lineup is so much more balanced when JT Realmuto is doing well. And the thing is, if JT Realmuto and Kyle Schwarber, as my 3 and 2 most important people, start to turn things around, then it takes some of the pressure off of Trey Turner. It takes some of the pressure off of Nick Castellanos, Bryson Stott, and whoever are the bottom end guys. I mean, right now yesterday you had Marsh, Clemens, and Drew Ellis in your 7, 8, 9 hole. A lot less pressure. I mean, Ellis was 3 for 3 yesterday. Clemens, can we give a round of applause? Which emoji is which one? There we go. Round of applause for one Cody Clemens. I mean, what Cody Clemens is doing, it's fantastic. It's great to see. Would never have thought that. And again, if you're watching, make sure you hit that like button, please, on the YouTube video. Like it on Facebook if you're watching there. Greatly appreciate any shares, likes, subscribes, anything. Comment. Let me know what you're thinking about this Phillies team. Sixers, Eagles, whatever you want to know. JT Realmuto makes everything so much better, but we got to give a round of applause. I mean, Cody Clemens, to me, was a guy that should have been on this team. And I crushed the decision to have him on this team from the second he made the team. But he's hitting 253. He's got a 311 on base percentage, a 434 slugging percentage. The guy doesn't do anything fantastic, but he plays solid defense. and he doesn't embarrass himself at the plate. So Cody Clemens, I'll give you a second round of applause. Why not? I mean, that's damn good work. But Schwarber, JT, that's 3-2, on my list of most important things that happened this weekend for the Phillies that give us a glimmer of hope going forward. And we're going to get into tonight's, game in the series against Detroit, which is another must-win series. But I want to say one thing. The number one thing that came out of this weekend for me, for the Phillies, and that was Ranger Suarez last night or yesterday afternoon. He had he had his best outing of the season, his last outing. He went like 6 2/3 or 5 2/3, gave up a couple runs. I think one of those runs he gave up was the bullpen gave it up. He had put the guy on base, and whoever took over for him gave it up the run. But then he used that really good outing and parlayed it and stacked it with a great outing last night. 7 innings, 8 hits, only 1 walk, which is huge for him. He was able to get through 7 innings on 101 pitches, which is huge for him. Only struck out 3, but that's what you needed. You needed somebody in this Phillies rotation to step up and step up and have multiple outings in a row of success. Because right now it's 1 good outing followed by 3 clunkers for every guy in this rotation. And coming off a bullpen game on Saturday where you blew your bullpen, you needed your starter to go out there and not just eat innings, but eat innings successfully because you needed that win. And Ranger Suarez did that yesterday. It was very great to see. I don't watch enough baseball, but I'm seeing crazy turnarounds in a season. Why? So games. It matters. Everything matters. I mean, you think about it. The Phillies got into the playoffs last year with they locked the last playoff seed up with 2 games to play. Wouldn't you like to be locking that up with 6 games to play, 7 games to play? Wouldn't you like to have the 5th seed or the 4th seed instead of the last seed just to get in? Like, you've got to do something now. But also, baseball, it's a long season, and you could turn things around. Obviously, the Phillies did it last year, 22-29 to start the year, finished with a winning record. I get all that. But you set the tone early. And then in the middle of the season, which we're in the middle, June, July, August, that middle guts, that's when you separate yourself. That's when the winners separate themselves from the losers. And being average, you can get into the playoffs at the end. And yes, once you get to the playoffs, you get hot, whatever. But it would be a lot easier if you just didn't wait till the last second to get in, and that's why these games matter. Last year, the Phillies got in on the second to last day with their 87th win. About 86, 87 wins. Doesn't guarantee you the last wild card spot, but could be done. I think 88, 89 wins is where the comfortable level is to make sure you make the playoffs. The Phillies are pretty far off that pace right now. I think going into the weekend series against the Nationals, they were on pace for only 77 wins. So they're really far off. Going 2-4 during the last 6 was not the plan. Absolutely. I'm trying to use Overreaction Monday to overreact a little bit and be a little bit more positive. I get told I'm way too negative on these Phillies on a daily basis. I'm a topper hater. I just like to complain. That's all I do. Like, I just look at every Phillies lineup and tweet and everything and just find a negative thing. So I'm trying to find ways to be positive. And Ranger Suarez having 2 great outings in a row, well, 1 good and 1 great outing, is a good building block. Now, does that translate to Aaron Nola tonight? I mean, Aaron Nola going up, coming off of another bad outing. Hold on, I want to pull up tonight's game. I got to get this guy's name. You got Aaron Nola, who in his last start, he's got a 4.70 ERA on the season. Last start, 4 runs, 3 walks, 6 innings. Start before that, 5 runs, 6 innings, 3 home runs. But he had 3 starts ago, a really good outing. 7 innings, 2 runs, 10 strikeouts. That was great. But then he had a 4-run inning game before that. Like, he's so inconsistent this year. And that contract, in my mind, the lack of him getting the contract, without a shadow of a doubt, is looming in his head mentally and his attitude towards this Phillies team. I don't think he's out there purposely losing. But him not getting the contract he wanted, extension, before the season, is definitely playing a factor. We talked about at the beginning of the season, would it? And I really think it did, and I think it is. And it's unfortunate because you need Aaron Nola to turn around. I was looking at his individual stats, and it's kind of crazy. For as bad as Aaron Nola's been, his whip is still 113. So it's still the home run ball that he's given up. Those one bad innings, he's still, for the most part, keeping runners off base. So there are glimmers of hope. And hopefully, stacking that Ranger Suarez 2 great outings, maybe it rubs off on Aaron Nola. Maybe it rubs off on Zach Wheeler a little bit. Nola isn't going to get the contract he wanted. For sure, he's not going to get the contract now. And honestly, depending on what your thoughts are on this Philly season and where they're at and where they're going, in my mind, I mean, it kind of hurts. In my mind, you try to trade him. Problem being, though, what are you going to get for him with as bad as he's pitching? So can you even trade him and get remotely close to max value? What is whip? It's not a car. See, I know cool lingo isn't whip, or maybe whip's not a cool lingo for car anymore. Whip is walks and hits per inning. So how many base runners get on base per inning? Like the best of the best have less than one whip, give up less than one base runner per inning. Aaron Nola, in some parts of his career, has been 0.9, 0.98 whips for whole seasons. 113, what he is right now, is still really good. It's not his level, but still really good. The guy going up against the Phillies tonight. Okay, so let's touch on this. First and foremost, the guy the Phillies are facing tonight, his last name is Wentz. Don't know if there's any relation, but there's a bad omen right there when a guy's going up against the Phillies and his name's Wentz. It's Joey Wentz, not Carson Wentz, but still, he's got a 168 whip, which means he's giving up 1.6, almost 2 base runners per inning. And there's a reason why he's a really bad pitcher for that. Phillies didn't pay Nola. Hey, I brought this up, Kyle. You might have missed it on the show last week. That maybe there is something to this. Is Showtime, Ohtani, I can't say his real name, is he going to come to Philly? Would he want to come to Philly? What would it take? Is John Middleton going to write out a $500 million check? So I think that's to get him to come to Philly. For some reason, Kyle, I don't know if you've noticed this, but those stars from Japan, Korea, the big name guys that you have to put posting fees up to get them over here. It seems like Philly's always 5th or 6th on the list of the names of teams that they might go to. Those guys just don't seem to want to come to Philly. They always go to Boston, the Yankees, or West Coast teams to be closer to home. Shorter flight across the Pacific than whatnot. But if John Middleton says, yo, Showtime, here's a 12-year, $500 million contract for you, how does he say no? I don't know if the Yankees would do that. The Angels won't. Would you be okay giving him a 12-year? I mean, it's not my money. $500 million? Sure. I mean, that really may be what a lot of Dave Dombrowski. It's almost like Dave Dombrowski. Maybe he's like, how do I say this? Kind of punting on this year. Is this a pause year for the Phillies, really? I know they spent a lot of money on Trey Turner, but is it really like, because if you look at the pitching and what Dave Dombrowski did this year for pitching, it's not like they were all in on pitching. So I don't know. I would say this. Bringing Ohtani to Philly, whew, watch those ticket prices soar. It'd be really hard to get a ticket to a baseball game if that's what happened. At least Schwarber is waking up a bit. And he did. And I think it's crazy. I don't think it's June that woke him up. It's Rob Thompson put him back in the leadoff spot. And it's frustrating. Because I'm not a Kyle Schwarber leadoff hitter fan. I think he's slow, clogs up the bases. You know, you got Stott or whoever you have back behind him. It was Castellanos this weekend, which I'm not a fan of that either. But, like, you know, he's comfortable there. And if that's what it takes to get him out of his slump, I'll sacrifice who I think should be at the top, Bryson Stott, from being there if that's what gets Kyle Schwarber going. Because as negative as I am about this team, I still want this team to be successful. I still want to cheer the Phillies on. I watch every game. I don't want to watch crappy baseball. So if Kyle Schwarber betting leadoff does that, good for him. And good for Rob Thompson figuring it out and putting him back there. I still can't understand how he hasn't had a day off. Can the Phillies throw another huge contract at someone? Do they? Well, there's no salary cap in baseball. You spend whatever you want as long as you don't mind paying the luxury tax. John Middleton's already paying the luxury tax. You'll have contracts coming off the books this year in Aaron Nola. Next year's the last year of Zach Wheeler's deal. That big money comes off the books. You got young pitchers in Andrew Painter and Mick Abel coming up, so they'll be cheaper at first. Rhys Hoskins contracts off the books. So yeah, you can afford a big contract like that. As long as John Middleton doesn't mind signing the checks, it's done. It's no big deal at all. I still can't believe Kyle Schwarber hasn't been given a day off. He's the only Philly to play every single day. And everybody says, well, this guy needs a day off because they're struggling, or this guy needs a day off because it's a tough lefty. Yet they trot Kyle Schwarber out there every day. Today will be the day after he goes, 2 for 5 with the home run yesterday, and he's 5 for his last 15. Now Topper will give him a day off. Oh, well, it's a tough lefty, so he needed a day off. Just this will be the time. Yesterday, Harper hustled out a double on a base hit to right center, then yelled at the dugout. Yeah, we need somebody to step up and light a fire, light a match under these guys' asses. Bryce Harper does it, though, on the field like that. That's not the first time you see Harper like, yo, let's go. Can't be all me. Problem is, we need somebody else who does it in the locker room. You see Kyle Schwarber's probably the locker room leader. When Craig Kimbrell got his 400 save, he was the one leading the cheers and congratulations. But we need somebody that's going to be that fiery presence. And I thought it was going to be Alec Boehm, honestly. Last week or 2 weeks ago when he knocked over the Gatorade thing and was all pissed after a loss a week or two ago, knocking shit over and screaming in the dugout. I thought that would carry over to the locker room. Maybe he would be that guy. Maybe not yet. But still, it's really interesting to say. Joker. I guess this is Johnny. You keep changing your name. You keep changing your name on here, and I can't keep track of them all. Yeah, Joker. That was a great NBA Finals game last night. I watched the majority of it. I don't normally stay up that late, but I watched that game till the end last night. I thought it was going to be a 5-game, series, and Denver was going to just win. But nah, that game that series might go 6 or 7. Just Miami just got such a good culture and just will to win, and Jimmy Butler's will to victory just does something different. And going back to basketball for a little bit, and this back to the Sixers conversation, what the Sixers should be doing. We already talked about this a little bit. I'll give it again to you because this goes into it all. He had to leave the Sixers. He had to leave the Sixers. Even though it was a parallel job to go forward, he had to do it. Because he got passed over here again. He wasn't going to get any further here. And honestly, when you have a losing mentality like the Sixers had under Doc Rivers, sometimes it's best to just clean all the coaches out. Get all new voices. Nick Nurse is going to want his guys that understand his philosophies. Now, if he wanted to stay, that's fine. But it's similar to the Deuce Staley leaving Philly because he could have stayed under Nick Sirianni, but he was still just going to be another running back. Like, moving sideways, Detroit might get him forward. This is the best case scenario for Sam Cassell. Now, the problem is he went to the Celtics, of all teams. Like, he could have gone and joined Vogel's staff with the Suns or Adrian Griffin with the Bucks or Monty Williams with the Pistons, who he has a connection with. But no, he chose to go to Boston, which pisses me off, which is just very hard to understand. He had him, and he really did. And that's fine because I want a new culture. And I'm looking at this Miami Heat team that's playing the Denver Nuggets so tough in the NBA Finals. I'm like, how do the Sixers get there? And they could just get there next year. They could just run it back and maybe the ball bounces one way or the other. But if you really think about it, it starts with culture. And look at what Eric Spoelstra's got there in Miami. Look at some of the guys that were playing last night and have been playing in this playoff run. Duncan Robinson. I mean, they're without their number 2 scorer, Tyler Hero, who may come back. And honestly, you can make the argument if he's ready to play that you don't want him back. I know you could use a scorer like him, but everything's working so well. Why would you even bring him back? And, the Sixers need Nick Nurse to clean house. The coach is completely out. Start from scratch, building a culture and building a philosophy that losing will not be tolerated. Not giving 100% will not be tolerated. And that's what's going on in Miami. Caleb Martin, next man up, great. The other was in game one against, it was Highsmith stepped up and made a bunch of big buckets when Martin wasn't, knocking them down in game one. It's the next man up philosophy. Team is bigger than me. Team is bigger than individual accomplishments. I mean, you look at it, Jimmy Butler's numbers last night into the fourth quarter weren't that great. Other guys are stepping up. Spoelstra has made so many changes, and they've all worked out. Goes and switches up the starting lineup last night, puts Kevin Love in. Nobody, no grumblings, no rumblings, nothing. Everybody's okay with it because the Heat culture, as they call it down there, it's Heat culture, is bigger than the superstar. And if you think about it, in the realm of superstars, I don't know what's going on with Ed Oliver. I'll look into it. You got to tell me. Buffalo's Bills mega deal Ed Oliver. I don't know enough about Bills Ed Oliver to know if it's a good deal or not. I'll look into that, and maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll have to read up on what happened there. I mean, Bills stuff is not like front and center for me. I'm not thinking of what the Bills do. I don't even know what the Bills do unless you bring it up. But that Heat culture, it's a thing. And the Sixers don't have that. Think about it this way. Jimmy Butler, he's the star of that Miami Heat team. But in the pantheon of superstars in the NBA, is he even in the top 10? Is he? He's not on Giannis's level overall. Jokic, Embiid. He's not on, Kevin Durant's level, really. I'm just thinking of all these other. He's not on LeBron's level in stardom. Is he even a top 10 star? No. But the Heat culture with him as the star is enough. Before the playoffs, for sure it's not. But you get what I'm getting at here, Judd, with this conversation that I'm trying to, bring up, that the culture is more important than having 3 mega stars on a team, maybe. You look at the Nuggets, that Mike Malone's doing a great job out there. The Stars lost yesterday, actually, didn't they? Thought they lost 27-24. See? I know what's going on. Absolutely. Yeah, I know you agree with what I'm saying here. It's like, that's why the pause year idea keeps getting floated around by me. You don't need to go out and trade James Harden for, in a 3-team deal to Tyrese Maxey to go get Dame Lillard and Bradley Beal and all these big names. You got to bring in culture guys. You got to bring in guys that are team first. You got to bring in winners, guys that know how to win. And, I know you're really hyped about your USFL Stars and your Buffalo Bills. But you need guys that know their role. I mean, look at somebody like Cody Zeller. Is he the worst basketball player to play in an NBA Finals? But he's playing effective minutes when out there. Dame Lillard does not put us over. He loves Portland. Same way. Absolutely agree. And it might be too late on Dame Lillard. I mean, he's 32. Going to be 33 this season. He hasn't been healthy. Like, I don't think that. I mean, I brought up some. I got some new names for you guys. Okay, some new names I thought of Friday after the show, after the All Football Friday show. Coach Dale Carlson, shout out, great content again. I'd already mentioned Markelle Fultz, but I brought Markelle Fultz up again Friday afternoon on Twitter. But I got 3 more names. They'd all be tough to get here. Well, not all of them. Fultz would be a tough trade, but Danny Green came back from ACL injury and played a little bit at the end of the season. I think it was with the Cavs. A bench guy that knows how to win, played in Toronto under Nick Nurse. Been here. I still say the Sixers beat the Atlanta Hawks a few years ago if Danny Green doesn't get hurt. I don't care what Ben Simmons shot he didn't take. We win that series with Danny Green. So Danny Green as a vet, as a role player, as a guy that's a culture guy, doesn't mind holding other players accountable. I would love to see Danny Green back here in Philly. Yes, it is too late for Dame to Philly 2 to 3 years ago. Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. I don't mean Danny Green. Absolutely. Danny Green is the kind of guy you need. He was. I wasn't sure if he was on the team the season that he won the championship there or not, but I know he played under Nick Nurse. So if you say that, I got you. All right, so I got so Danny Green, Markelle Fultz, both former Sixers. I got another former Sixer. He's got a what is it? Player option, so he could be a sign and trade option if you want to get rid of Tobias, which I want to bring up Tobias in a minute here. But Jeremy Grant is available potentially in a sign and trade. Or he might just become an unrestricted free agent if he opts out of his player deal. Jeremy Grant, former process player, has developed into a hell of a 3-and-D player. Hell of a 3-and-D player. God, no. God, no. I would never bring Ben Simmons back here. Ben Simmons ain't going to play another when this contract runs out, his mega deal, he ain't even playing anymore. I'm a huge Jeremy Grant fan. If you get him back here in a sign and trade. It's exactly a guy that doesn't mind putting up 25 points, but also is going to play great D, hustle, and if the shots are going through Embiid this day or that day or Maxey's hot, he ain't going to complain. Go play defense. Love Jeremy Grant as an option. It'll be super difficult to get Jeremy Grant. He's got a player option. So, I mean, look, every option, whatever. We've gone over for the last 2 weeks a million different trade scenarios and players that are available. None of them are easy. Daryl Morey, there are still people that think Daryl Morey is a great head coach or a great GM and executive. This is going to be his year. Whether either his legacy is solidified or his legacy is completely proven to be, not accurate. Grant Williams will be available for like 13. But again, we only have so much money. So almost everybody we have to bring in here either has got to be on that mid-level exemption or in a sign and trade deal. Excellent intangibles, absolutely, from Jeremy Grant. All right, so Green, Fultz, Grant. I got one other name. And look, it's not a perfect name, but we need guys that can shoot. We need guys that can stretch the floor. Nick Nurse loves guys that can shoot the ball. He loves long guys. If Nick Nurse is going to convince Joel Embiid to stay down low and not be planted out the three-point line like he should be stuck down low, you might be able to get him pretty cheaply in a sign and trade deal. And he's all these guys, none of them are perfect, and none of them are all the time healthy. Actually, I think Grant's been mostly healthy in his career. But Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn, is available in a sign and trade option. Guy can shoot 40% from three. He's long line. He's the complete opposite of what Tobias Harris is at that stretch four. A guy that can shoot that three. I'm not going to say Dillon Brooks. Although I don't know what's going on with Dillon Brooks in his situation. Do we need a guy like Dillon Brooks on this team with his with his toughness? I mean, maybe. I don't know. No on Kristaps Porzingis. Look, I'm just trying to get creative here again. But what I'm also and I don't know if Kristaps Porzingis fits into that culture category, but he fits into the type of player we need under a Nick Nurse. A long, lanky he's not a 3-and-D, but a long, lanky stretch four. If you look past the fact DB is annoying, he's a solid starter or bench guy. DB, Dillon Brooks. Yeah. You just got to look past his... He gets in trouble. How about we just say that? He causes some trouble. You want Porzingis at the now. Look, I'm trying to get... I went through the list of guys that were restricted free agents or guys with player options, guys that could be gotten in sign and trades, because that's what you got to think about. We can't sign free agents, but we can sign a trade. And Kristaps Porzingis is more realistically like Jeremy Grant. Just think about it this way. Excuse me. Jeremy Grant in a sign and trade is going to cost more than Tobias Harris, and whatever. With money. Kristaps Porzingis, you might be able to get into in a sign and trade situation with just Tobias Harris, maybe a second round pick. So, what I'm saying is you gotta if you want to make any moves, you gotta think realistically what's it gonna take. Jeremy Grant, it's gonna take Tobias Harris's contract to match. It's going to take a future second, maybe a future first, maybe Springer, maybe Maxey. I doubt Maxey would have to be involved. They might want just Tyrese Maxey, not Tobias, for Jeremy Grant, Portland. So you got to think about what these teams, because if Jeremy Grant is available, what he can fetch on the open market versus what Porzingis can, two totally different levels. Jeremy Grant's like an all-star. Porzingis may have made an all-star or two, but he's not really an all-star anymore. But he can still score. He scored. I watched him play against the Sixers a few times this year, and he looked good still. Just trying to find creative ways around reshaping this roster without going out and getting somebody that's going to cost us Tyrese Maxey and Springer and all our assets. I like the unicorn, but I think he would end up being a spot-up shooter that isn't great defensively. Yeah, he's probably already at that point in his career. I mean, in the games he played against the Sixers, he was still grabbing rebounds. He was still knocking down shots. So, I mean, I have a very small sample size. I just remember him playing pretty well against the Sixers this year in limited action, hence why I brought that name up. But all this goes back to the point that just changing the culture and tweaking this roster a little bit with centering this team around Joel and Tyrese Maxey and just a bunch of role players that you know that can be called upon for different roles. Dude, I love Michael Carter-Williams. Just so you know, I was a big fan of his. I saw so much potential. I'm like, if this guy can just knock down a three-point shot at a slightly high... Dude, I like Evan Turner, too. I love the underdog. The guy, I do. The guys that just look a little slower than everybody else, but that do the great. Dude, I was a big MCW fan. Is he even in the NBA? I don't even know if he still plays anymore. I was a big MCW fan. I really was. But he had a losing mentality too, and he was put in a position on a bad team that he was going to succeed. If you want to bring MCW back, you might as well bring back Evan Turner too. If you're going to do it all, we'll bring back every fouled guard that we had here. I already said bring back Markelle Fultz, so why not? But just centering around these two guys, Maxey and Embiid, assuming that Nick Nurse is going to unlock another aspect of Tyrese Maxey's game, because that's what Nick Nurse does. Hey, Nerlens Noel has carved out a really good, solid career as a backup in the NBA, as a backup big, as a role player. Really solid career he's had. What was he, 6th or 10th overall we took him? I mean, he didn't live up to that hype, but he had a solid career. I like Dylan Brooks' defensive menace. Is he like, could he be just considered, what's the guy that gave LeBron fits all the time back in the day? Blowing in his ear, Stevenson. Is he like him, just a defensive menace? Joel Embiid's got to play less games this year. You need him as healthy as you can come playoffs and protect them. MCW had one of his best rookie year. Hinkie recognized he couldn't hit a jump shot and cashed in. I actually want to say that his jump shot got better. Not much, but it did. Hold on. I actually have to see this here, really. Michael Carter Williams. It pops right up here. It's almost like my computer knows I'm bringing him up. First and foremost, he still played. He played 4 games for the Orlando Magic last year. Let's see. His three-point shot in Philly was 26% his rookie year. Then it went up. Yeah. So in 2018, it went up to 36%. But no, he never got better overall. He was, dude, he had so much potential. Long leg guy, he just couldn't shoot. LeBron always had beef with players named Stevenson, yeah, whatever it was. But I don't know. Dylan Brooks, what's it going to cost? Can you get him cheaply because he's got a reputation that he's got to rehab? We're talking about culture. Do you want a Dylan Brooks type guy when you're trying to reform a culture? Like, different levels, because Dylan Brooks would start or play major minutes off a bench. Danny Green, I'm looking at for back-end minutes on the bench. But Danny Green's culture versus Dylan Brooks, difference. Like, that's what I'm looking at right now is culture. And I'm thinking that culture and role players around Joel and Tyrese Maxey might be the best bet. His values are in question big time for Dylan Brooks. I'll give you Al Horford for a bag of Al Horford was not a good one. It brings up an interesting thing too. I saw somebody post this yesterday that Tobias Harris. We're all assuming that we're trading Tobias Harris, and we probably will. His contract is very valuable as an expiring contract, whether they trade him before the season, mid-season, whatever it may be. You think Dylan Brooks is a good culture guy? It could be. I'm gonna read a little bit more into Dylan Brooks because I'm gonna write his name down so I don't forget to read more into him. Because you got me intrigued with Dylan Brooks. I know what happened at the end there with Memphis, but like, what is he really like? What did his teammates really think of him? I got to do some research into Dylan Brooks a little bit. But Tobias Harris is an interesting name, and the reason being that could Nick Nurse unlock something else out of him? I saw that online. I'm like, I wonder. We really could have had Brogdon instead of Horford that offseason. And would have, I get it. I get it. But Grizzlies looked like they were having more fun than anyone else last year. Yeah, I mean, the Ja Morant thing caused the problem, obviously, in Memphis. I don't know what to think about Memphis right now as an NBA fan. They got so many issues there that they have to sort out. But should the Sixers not trade Tobias Harris before the season starts? And I'm going to give you 2 reasons why maybe they should. One, Nick Nurse might need a veteran. Nick Nurse, if we lose Harden, we're going to need to make up those 21 points a game. You're going to need a guy that can score. You're going to need a guy that's a veteran leader on this team. Is Tobias Harris a good thing? And part 2 of why you don't trade him, is there a scenario where Nick Nurse can unlock another aspect of Tobias Harris's game? Tobias Harris might get more looks. And then at the trade deadline, all of a sudden that expiring contract's even more valuable to the Sixers. The Sixers need a shooter or need something for the playoff run, and they can get it. Plus maybe a draft pick for a team that's desperate to unload contract. Is Tobias Harris under Nick Nurse more valuable to start the season in Philly than just trading him right now for a couple role players? Now, I understand by not trading Tobias Harris, you're stuck with not being able to fully build out the bench and add more depth. Like, you can get 2 or 3 role players for Tobias Harris probably. We already talked about Reggie Bullock, Kleber, Bertans from Dallas. I mean, it's a possibility you can get those 3 players. But is Tobias Harris' potential under Nick Nurse greater than we realize? How many levels we got to unlock with Tobias? Feels like I'm playing Mario. Hey, I get it. I think that's a fair point and a fair opinion to have. And I might just be ready to move on. I get that. But I'm just trying to think of Tobias Harris is really important in this locker room. I don't think people understand how important he is as a locker room leader on this team. I don't think people get how much the young players on this team look up to him. So I really think there's something there. I think you need talent. Toby isn't bad, just expensive. Yeah, and I get it. And that's probably the right move. And maybe I'm overthinking the Nick Nurse part of this. Maybe I'm overthinking that Nick Nurse can maybe unlock another level of Tobias. I really thought, find a way to get him back to L.A. He played well with the Clippers when he was there. Find a way to get him somewhere. But I also believe in leaders, and he is a leader on this team. Yeah, ultimately it does depend. But could you get more if you hold on to him? Yeah, can we find a way? Like, I saw somebody suggest a trade, and I forget what the trade combo package was. But somebody this weekend I saw come across my timeline that they found a way to get us off of, PJ Tucker. And we need to find a way. I wanted Mike Budenholzer to be hired so that we could just find a way to trade him to whoever he was coaching. Got to find a way to get off of Tucker, in my opinion. his value that he brought, and he did bring value in the playoffs, is not worth the money we're spending on him or the price that and the fact that he's just so lost over an 82 game regular season. We need to find a way to get off of the PJ Tucker thing. I'm just not sure how it happens. When are you going to drop JJ's name for JJ who? JJ Redick? I don't know. Who JJ who? I'm lost here. Am I missing something? I'm trying to think of former Sixers named JJ other than JJ Redick. Is that who you mean? I don't know. $40 million a year. I'll be the best mentor here ever. But will they listen to you, John? I don't know. Look, I still have to tie my brother. Whenever my brother needs a tie, like I have to meet him in a parking lot, and he has to meet me there and bring the ties, and I got to tie him. He's like almost 40 years old. He'll be 40 this year, and I still got to tie his damn ties for him. How does he not know? I am not bringing back all the former Sixers. I did suggest 3. 2 of them for valid reasons. Markelle Fultz, I probably would have never brought up Markelle Fultz's name if he didn't do that interview this weekend or this past week where he said he wishes he was still here in a sense because he wanted to prove that he's, worth it. Otherwise, I would never mention Markelle Fultz. I'll always watch Markelle Fultz. I'll always support the guy. I think we got rid of him for too cheap, second-round pick and a bag of balls. But Jeremy Grant, I think, would be huge. Jeremy Grant is not the same player he was when he was in Philly, obviously. And Danny Green, if you're going to get rid of Tobias, you need veteran leaders that can play defense. You need guys that have been there, done it. I don't know. I think Danny Green, I still, and maybe Danny Green I'm a little biased on too. Because I will stay by my point that we beat the Hawks a few years ago. What was it? 3 years ago. Wow, that was 3 years ago. That Ben Simmons pass to Matisse when he was right there for the dunk against Atlanta. That was 3 years ago. Or 3 seasons ago. It's insane to think we've come so far. It's been going on for so long. But I still say we win that series with him. Is Joel really that good of a teammate? I mean, Butler and Fultz still want to play with him. Joel, I think, is a different type of teammate now than he was 5 years ago. I think he's more interested in winning and cares more about the big picture. And people want to play with him because they see how talented he is. He is literally you look at the big men playing in this NBA Finals. Jokic is obviously in a class of himself right now. But Bam Adebayo, he's one of the best centers in the league. He's nowhere near Joel Embiid's level. Nowhere near it. That being said, that's why people want to play with Joel, because they know that he's always going to have a chance at an NBA Finals. As long as he's playing at a dominant level, he's always going to be there. People want to win titles. Fultz wants to win. If Butler doesn't win this NBA Finals, he still wants to win a Finals. So pairing with Joel Embiid gives him the best option. Lou Williams engineering that Game 5 comeback hit so many. Yeah. Dude, it's been 3 years. But again, maybe if Danny Green's there, Lou Williams doesn't engineer that comeback. I think, did he get hurt the last game of the first round of the series or the first game against the Hawks, Danny Green? I think it was early in the first game against the Hawks when he went down. And I said it from the moment. People, I'm like, I remember tweeting out, I'm like, turning point of the series. I had about a tenth of the followers I have now. So not many people saw my tweets back then. But I literally said, turning point of the series right there. Think about it. We could have won that series. We would have went on to the NBA Finals. I don't know what would have happened in the Finals, but we get out of the second round there if Danny Green doesn't get hurt. Oh man, there's so much to talk about still. I got to do my Dylan Brooks research. We didn't get a lot of Phillies conversation. We'll continue the Phillies tomorrow as well. I know it's not Football Friday, and we will have another All Football Friday. I saw this. This is so dumb. I saw this on one of the Facebook groups. I don't do Facebook except for to promote shows. I saw one of the football groups, one of these start, bench, cut things. And the amount of people I saw saying cut Jalen Hurts out of these 3 quarterbacks, I really wanted to tackle into this. So we might talk about this tomorrow. But, yeah, I love Bam, but offensively he sucks. So, yeah, Bam's a more prototypical what an NBA center is nowadays. Joel Embiid, though, is just a different level. Different level. My Twitter, it's right here on the screen. At Beard of Knowledge, right there. The amount of people that were saying bench or cut Jalen Hurts is just so disrespectful. So we're going to get into that conversation this week for sure. Lots of conversations to get into this week. Another week here in June. Hey guys, we're going to wrap up Trend the AM. We only got we got up to 13. Last time I looked, it was only at 9. What's up, Drew? Jumping in at the last possible second, my man. Make sure you catch the replay. Shout it from the rooftops, everybody. Trend the AM, the only place where your opinions matter. Dude, as I say, we're ending. The views are going up. Who were the top 3? Who were the 3? It was here. I'll put it back up. Start, bench, cut. Fields, Lamar, Jalen Hurts. Don't even give me your answers right now. Iconic chatter, because it's not Johnny chat. It's iconic chatter. We'll get into it tomorrow. I'm gonna put it over under August 10th. We got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on August 20th. We'll say by August 10th, Buddha will be in Philly. He will hold out a training camp with Arizona because he doesn't want to play there. And before too long into camp, we will get Buddha Baker here. We will save that for conversation for tomorrow. Some more of that conversation for tomorrow. We'll wrap it up right there. Stay tuned tonight, 9 o'clock. Fairway to Heaven, Golf, Fantasy, and Gambling Podcast. Myself, Jason Sullivan. Jason Sullivan won a GPP event this weekend. Shout out to him. Great work from him. We'll go over his thought process on picking a winning lineup that beat over 40,000 other lineups this weekend. August 10th it is. That's right. We'll be doing breaking news August 10th, Overreaction Monday. Buddha Baker is a Philadelphia Eagle. That'll be the August 10th show here. But we're going to wrap up for today. Everybody have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Trending in the AM, where your opinions matter. For Philadelphia Sports Network, I'm Phil Stiefel. See you tomorrow, guys.